1888, August 31st, Whitechapel, London. The early morning hours reveal a gruesome scene in Bucks Row. A woman lies on the cobblestones, her body lifeless. The faint glow of gaslight flickers overhead, casting a dim light across her form. Mary Ann Nichols, 39 years old, is the victim. A mother of 5, she has fallen on hard times, often seen in search of work or shelter. On this morning, she becomes the first confirmed victim of a killer who will haunt this city. Nichols' throat is slashed deeply. The cut is quick and severe, severing arteries. Her abdomen is mutilated with horrific precision. The brutality of the act is shocking. The stench of blood mingles with the damp air of the street, a metallic tang piercing the senses. Distant gaslight flicker. A passerby, drawn by the sight of the still form, approaches. The sound of footsteps echoes off the brick walls. The man gasps, realizing the woman is not merely drunk or asleep. The horror settles in. This is a crime scene. He shouts, calling for help. Urgent shout. Soon the sound of hurried footsteps fills the air. Constable John Taine arrives first. He bends down to examine the body, his lantern illuminating the grim details. The light flickers and dances across the scene, revealing the stark contrast between the blood and the pale skin of the victim. Lantern crackle. Tyne quickly recognizes the severity of the situation. He notes the time, 3:40 a.m. The streets are quiet, save for the distant sounds of the city waking up. A few curious onlookers gather, their faces a mix of shock and disbelief. Murmurs in the crowd. Officers work to cordon off the area, establishing a perimeter and pushing back the growing crowd. The murmurs of speculation rise among the onlookers. Who is this woman? What happened to her? The questions hang heavy in the air, but answers remain elusive. Rustling crowd. As the sky begins to lighten, the scene contrasts sharply with the peaceful dawn. A chill lingers in the air. The first rays of sunlight struggle to break through the clouds, casting a ghostly hue over the crime scene. Soft wind. Detectives arrive soon after. They begin their investigation amid the whispering crowd, gathering details from witnesses. Each person offers a piece of the puzzle, yet the bigger picture remains obscured. The investigators take notes, their faces set in determination, pencils scratching on paper. Nearby, the sound of a horse-drawn carriage clatters down the cobbled street. It is an eerie soundtrack to the unfolding tragedy. The officers remain focused, their eyes scanning for any clue that could lead them to the killer. Carriage wheels clattering. Mary Ann Nichols is not just a victim, she represents a growing fear in Whitechapel. Women have been disappearing, and violence against them is becoming an increasingly grim reality. The police are aware of the rising tension in the area, struggling against a tide of poverty and desperation. Faint city noises. As the sun rises higher, illuminating the scene, it also reveals the stark disparities of life in Whitechapel. The sounds of the waking city become more pronounced. The clanging of metal, the chatter of workers, and the calls of street vendors. Yet here, in Bucks Row, silence reigns, distant market sounds. The constables continue their work, but the grim nature of the murder weighs heavily on their minds. As they study the body, they note the time of death. It had to be shortly before the body was discovered. The brutality speaks of a calculated act, one that sends a chilling message, rustling of clothing. As the investigation unfolds, the implications of this murder grow clearer. Mary Ann Nichols is the first, but she will not be the last. The killer's identity is unknown, but the fear he inspires is palpable. Women in the area begin to worry, looking over their shoulders as they walk the streets, footsteps quickening. The medical examiner arrives, adding another layer to the scene. He examines the body with careful precision. His observations will be crucial in understanding the nature of the attack. He shakes his head, recognizing the signs of a disturbed mind at work. Quiet sigh. The constables decide to transport Nichols' body. They cover her with a sheet, a sign of respect amid such a brutal end. The sight is haunting, emphasizing the severity of the violence that has occurred. As they lift her onto a stretcher, the crowd watches in silence, stretcher creaking. The news of her murder spreads quickly. Rumours fly through the streets of Whitechapel. Each whisper adds to the growing unease in the community, a source of dread among the residents, whispers rising. Local residents feel the weight of the crime. They talk among themselves in hushed tones, concerned for their safety. Women who once walked the streets freely now consider their routes carefully. The fear is tangible, a palpable force that grips the community. Anxious chatter. As the investigation continues, the police promise to find the person responsible. Yet for now, they are left with more questions than answers. The identity of the murderer remains a mystery. Distant sirens. Mary Ann Nichols' death is a stark reminder of the dangers lurking in the shadows. In the days that follow, the hunt for her killer begins. A wave of paranoia sweeps through Whitechapel. The streets once filled with life now feel haunted, echoing footsteps. The sound of a distant church bell tolls, marking the passage of time. Each chime serves as a reminder of the life lost on this night. The community watches and waits, uncertain of what will come next, church bells ringing. As the investigation into Mary Ann Nichols' murder unfolds, the city is on edge, and the shadows grow longer. Each new day brings the potential for more violence, and the fear is palpable. This is not just a story of one murder, it marks the beginning of a nightmare that will grip London for months to come. The search for answers continues. What will the next chapter reveal? 1888, September 8th. Spitalfields, London. A new victim is found in the backyard of 29 Hanbury Street. Footsteps on cobblestones. The morning air is thick with a chilling fog. It envelops the area, wrapping around the darkened streets. A passerby stumbles upon the scene. The sharp scent of damp, earth and decay cuts through the cold. Annie Chapman lies motionless on the ground. Her body is cold, lifeless. The first light of dawn filters through the clouds, casting a soft glow on the horror that unfolds. The time is 6 a.m. Blood stains the earth beneath her. Distant birds chirping. Annie Chapman is 37 years old. Known in her neighbourhood, she endures a life marked by hardship. Born into a working-class family, she has faced the roughness of life in the East End. Once vibrant, her clothes are now worn, and her face reflects a troubled past. The passerby, stunned, realises something is terribly wrong. A call for help breaks the morning silence, muffled shouting. Authorities arrive quickly. They find Annie's throat cut, a brutal act leaving little doubt about her death. Her abdomen is opened, and her organs have been removed. This is not merely a murder. It is something more sinister. The officers struggle to maintain their composure. The smell of blood hangs heavy in the air, a metallic scent that lingers long after they leave. Rustling uniforms. The police cordon off the area. Barriers go up to keep onlookers at bay. Curious neighbours peek from their windows. Faces pale, eyes wide. Whispers ripple through the crowd. Fear mixes with fascination. What kind of monster could commit such a crime? Murmurs of the crowd. Annie's body is removed for examination. The coroner's team carefully handles the remains, noting the severity of the wounds. The brutality is astonishing, even for seasoned investigators. The sun rises higher, illuminating the grim scene. The calm of the day starkly contrasts the violence that has occurred. Distant church bells. In a nearby public house, patrons talk in hushed tones. Morning ales sit untouched. The usual banter is absent. Instead, they share gritty tales of survival in a city rife with danger. The mention of the murder silences the room. A collective understanding washes over them. Life can change in an instant. Clinking glasses. Detectives work rapidly to gather information. They question anyone who might have seen or heard something unusual. The streets are alive with tension. Constables patrol, their boots echoing against cobblestones. Each step sends a ripple through the community. reminding everyone of the lurking threat. Footsteps echoing. As the day unfolds, more details emerge. Annie Chapman is not just another victim. Her past intertwines with the lives of others in the neighbourhood. She had friends and acquaintances who could shed light on her final days, including a close-knit group of women who often gathered for support. The police compile a list of potential witnesses, hoping for a lead, any hint that might point them toward the killer. Paper rustling. For the community, reality sets in. The streets feel more dangerous now. The familiar sounds of the market waking up are overshadowed by fear. Vendors set up their stalls, but their voices tremble. Speculation about the identity of the murderer fills the air. Market chatter. Annie's friends gather distraught and confused. They reminisce about better times, shared laughter, and plans for the future. But now, the loss is palpable. It hangs in the air, heavy and suffocating. They wonder how life can be so cruel. Quiet sobs. The police establish a connection between Annie and a history of violence in the area. The brutality of her murder aligns with patterns they have noticed in other cases, though no direct link to previous victims is confirmed. This is not random violence. It is a calculated act. The detectives ponder the implications. A serial killer may be on the loose. Clock ticking. News spreads quickly. Newspapers seize the opportunity. Headlines shout the gruesome details. The public is captivated and horrified. Each report adds fuel to the fire of fear. The city is on high alert. Newspaper pages turning. Families lock their doors. Women walk in groups, eyes scanning their surroundings. The sense of security that once enveloped Spitalfields evaporates. The streets that felt familiar now seem hostile. The laughter of children fades as they're kept indoors, shielded from the grim reality. Children playing fades out. Annie Chapman is remembered by her friends. They set up a small memorial in the neighbourhood. Candles flicker in the twilight, illuminating her face in photographs. The community comes together, a show of solidarity against the darkness that has crept into their lives. They light candles, and the soft rustle of paper and whispering voices fills the air. They share stories of her kindness, her struggles, and her dreams. Soft candle flicker. As the investigation continues, the police remain vigilant, piecing together the fragments of Annie's life and those around her. The fear of a pattern looms large. The city grips tightly to the hope that they can stop this before it escalates further. Distant sirens. As night falls, the fog settles in once again. The sounds of the city dim. Lanterns flicker, casting eerie shadows on the cobblestones. The air grows colder, filled with an unsettling stillness. The community lies restless, haunted by the events of the day. Wind rustling. The murder of Annie Chapman marks a turning point, a brutal act that shakes a city to its core. The investigation intensifies, and the killer remains at large. Tension hangs in the air, like the fog, thick and suffocating. The search for answers continues, but for now, fear prevails. As this chapter closes, the question remains: who is the monster lurking in the shadows? The investigation into the East End's darkness is just beginning, with more chilling revelations to come. Fading footsteps. 1888, September 30th, Dutfields Yard, London. The night is quiet until a body is discovered. A man walks home late, his footsteps echoing in the stillness. He enters Dutfields Yard and spots something on the ground. A figure lies motionless in the shadows. He steps closer, heart racing, footsteps. The pale form is Elizabeth Stride, a 35-year-old woman known in the neighbourhood. She is lifeless tonight. The man calls for help, his voice breaking the silence. Distant shout. It's 1 a.m. Police arrive within minutes. Constables rush to secure the area, pushing back onlookers, gathering in the yard. Questions fill the air. Who is she? How did she end up here? Murmuring crowd. Officers examine the body. Stride's throat is cut, a violent act that hints at a darker story. No wounds on the rest of her body puzzle the police. They note the absence of further mutilation. Rustling papers, the chill in the air sharpens, carrying the smell of damp earth and the distant sound of a horse-drawn carriage clattering over cobblestones. Constables search for clues nearby, any signs of struggle, but find nothing. Clattering hooves. Witnesses report seeing Stride earlier that night with a man. Some say he was tall, others describe him as short. Speculation begins to swirl. Who was he? Where did he go? Whispers. The yard is cramped, surrounded by tall buildings that loom over the scene. Constables set up a perimeter, blocking the street with wooden barriers for the investigation. Lanterns flicker as dawn approaches. Flickering lanterns. Stride's face appears serene, almost peaceful. Officers feel a mix of dread and urgency. This marks the third murder in weeks, and the city is on edge. Tension hangs thick in the air. The Ripper is still at large, his methods evolving with each attack. Heartbeat. As the investigation unfolds, police take Stride's body to the mortuary. The gritty sounds of the city fade, replaced by the quiet of the examination room. An officer jots down notes, his pencil scratching against paper. The room is cold, the smell of antiseptic sharp. Pencil scratching. They discover Stride's purse nearby, untouched with no signs of robbery. Just another detail raising more questions than answers. Why leave the purse? What was the motive? There is a pause. Word spreads quickly through the community. People gather, murmuring in disbelief. The murder of a woman in their midst creates palpable fear. Stride is not the first, and her death solidifies the terror gripping Whitechapel. Murmurs grow louder. A witness recalls hearing a commotion moments before the discovery, a woman's voice raised in distress. The memory is foggy and unclear. Who was she? Did she see something? Distant cries. As the sun begins to rise, officers speculate about the killer's identity. Each theory leads to more questions. The Ripper remains a ghost in the shadows, slipping through their fingers. Distant footsteps. The community feels the weight of the tragedy. Elizabeth Stride becomes another name on the list of victims, a grim reminder of the danger lurking in the dark. A moment of silence follows. Investigators search for patterns connecting the murders. Stride's death marks a shift in the Ripper's methods. No further mutilation, but the brutality is unmistakable. Rustling wind. The smell of smoke wafts through the streets as morning breaks. People light their fires, unaware of the horror that unfolded just hours before. The city stirs to life, but a dark cloud hovers over Whitechapel. Crackling fire. News spreads like wildfire. The press arrives, eager for information. They huddle around officers, snapping photos and scribbling notes. Headlines scream of terror. Another victim of the Ripper. Camera clicks. Every detail is scrutinized. The police know they must act quickly. Public fear is rising. They decide to increase patrols in the area. More eyes on the streets, more chance to catch the killer. Footsteps on pavement. A local shopkeeper serves morning tea. The aroma fills the air, but it does little to ease the tension. Customers whisper about Stride. Their faces pale. They exchange theories, each more outlandish than the last. Clinking cups. A constable overhears the gossip and takes mental notes. The streets are alive with chatter, but they remain focused. They need facts, not rumours. They need to find the man who a moment of silence follows. Is a pause. The police begin piecing together Stride's last hours. They learn she was seen at a nearby pub, known for its lively atmosphere. Investigators visit the pub, searching for answers. Pub chatter. Inside, laughter and chatter starkly contrast the tragedy outside. The bartender recalls her presence and remembers her leaving alone, a drink in hand. Glass clinking. The question looms large. Who did she meet? The bartender cannot recall. Details slip away, like time seems to stand still. There is a pause. As the day unfolds, police canvass the area. They visit homes, speak to neighbours, and examine anything they can find. Each conversation reveals fragments of a puzzle that refuses to come together. Door knocking. A woman in the street recalls hearing a strange sound, a scuffle, maybe a cry. The constable thanks her, noting her description. It may lead somewhere, but where? The city feels heavy with unanswered questions. Distant bells. In the distance, church bells toll, marking the hour. Each chime echoes the reality of the night. Another life lost, another mystery to unravel. Church bells. As dusk approaches, the mood shifts. The city holds its breath. The Ripper remains a spectre, haunting the streets of London. The police feel the pressure to solve this case. With each murder, the task becomes more daunting. Deep breath. The investigation presses on, but for now, Elizabeth Stride is just another victim. Her story adds to the growing narrative of fear and uncertainty. The search for answers continues. Next time, the focus shifts to the fourth victim. The tension grows as the Ripper's methods become clearer. What will they uncover? The city watches, waiting for the next chapter in this dark tale. 1888. September 30th. Mitre Square, London. A chilling discovery follows shortly after the previous murder. The clock strikes 1 in the early morning. The streets are dark and damp, illuminated only by flickering gas lamps that cast shadows on the cobblestones. A constable walks the square, his boots echoing against the uneven stones. He hears the low murmur of the Thames nearby, a constant reminder of the city's pulse. As he patrols, the constable notices something unusual in the centre of the square. He approaches cautiously, instincts heightened. A faint, sickly smell of blood hangs in the air, sharp and metallic. His heart races as he gets closer. There, lying in a pool of blood, is a woman. Catherine Eddowes, a 46-year-old known figure in the area, had struggled through life, often found on the streets seeking warmth and food. Just hours earlier, she had been seen alive, chatting with others at nearby pubs. Now she lies motionless, her body sprawled grotesquely. The constable kneels beside her, breath catching in his throat. Her throat is cut, deep and jagged, a horrifying sight. Her abdomen is mutilated, open and exposed. The brutality of it is chilling. A shiver runs down his spine. He knows this is no ordinary crime. He radios for assistance, voice steady despite the urgency. The unsettling silence of the square amplifies his words. He glances around, aware of the darkness surrounding him. The echo of his call for backup reverberates off the stone buildings, a chilling reminder of his isolation. A breeze sweeps through, carrying the smell of rain mixed with the stench of blood. A distant horse-drawn carriage rattles along the street, adding to the eerie atmosphere. The night feels alive yet hauntingly still. Minutes later, more officers arrive, their footsteps crunching on the cobblestones. They secure the area, cordoning off the square with urgency. The flickering gas lamps cast eerie shadows over Eddowes' body, creating a surreal scene. Officers step back, careful not to disturb the evidence. They exchange glances, each recognizing the grim pattern that has emerged. This is not the first murder in Whitechapel. The implications weigh heavily on their minds. Eddowes' death bears striking similarities to earlier killings, including the recent murder of Mary Ann Nichols. The method is chillingly consistent. Throat slashed, body mutilated, organs removed. The killer is becoming more audacious, striking again in the same night as the previous murder. Detectives begin their investigation, documenting the scene with measured precision. Each detail is crucial. Each piece of evidence could unlock the mystery. The constable stands back, allowing the detectives to work. The tension in the air is palpable, thick with anxiety and fear. They know they are dealing with a serial killer, a monster lurking in the shadows. The sound of rustling paper, the clicks of cameras capturing the grisly scene, and the hushed tones of the detectives create a symphony of dread. Footsteps approach. A group of onlookers gathers at the edge of the cordon. Drawn by morbid curiosity, they whisper among themselves, their voices barely above a murmur. Their faces reflect shock and disbelief, eyes wide in horror at the sight before them. Some have come from nearby pubs, still clutching their drinks, while others are drawn by rumours spreading through the streets. As dawn breaks over the square, the gravity of the situation becomes apparent. This is the fourth murder attributed to the same killer. Anxiety grips the city. Who is this man? What drives him to commit such atrocities? The questions hang in the air, unanswered. In the days that follow, panic spreads through the streets. Local businesses begin to close early, their owners fearful of the night. Women stay indoors, afraid of becoming the next victim. The police ramp up patrols, but the fear remains, palpable and suffocating. Witnesses come forward, sharing what they remember from that night. They describe a tall figure, cloaked in shadow, a man with a dark hat moving swiftly through the streets. But no one can identify him. Each description is vague, blurred by fear and confusion. The police sift through the information, but it leads to dead ends, intensifying the sense of dread. Days turn into weeks, and the killer remains at large. The investigation intensifies. Scotland Yard forms a dedicated team, pouring resources into the case. They analyse every scrap of evidence, every reported sighting, but the killer eludes them, slipping through their fingers. Each day brings new leads, but they all fade into nothingness. Edow's murder seems to draw a line in the sand. A brutal wake-up call for a city that believed it was untouched by such violence. The narrative shifts, and Eddowes becomes a symbol of the struggle against a faceless enemy. As autumn rolls in, the air grows colder. The nights lengthen, and so does the list of victims. The community reels from the impact of the murders, their sense of safety shattered. The streets of Whitechapel, once bustling with life, now feel haunted. The lamplight casts elongated shadows, and every corner holds a potential threat. Meanwhile, Catherine Eddowes is laid to rest, her funeral attended by a sparse gathering. The mourners are quiet, reflecting on the loss of life due to violence. Eddowes had lived a difficult life, but now she is gone, a victim of a ruthless killer. Her story lingers in the air, a reminder of the fragility of life. As the search for the killer continues, the clock ticks on. Each day brings new fear, new rumours, and new tragedies. The hunt is far from over. The investigation into Catherine Eddowes' murder connects to the dark tapestry of violence weaving through London. What will happen next? Who will be the next victim? Will justice ever be served? The city waits, holding its breath in anticipation of the nightmare's next chapter. The story is still unfolding, a chilling reminder of the fragility of life. The hunt intensifies, but so does the fear. What comes next? The streets of London hold their secrets close as they brace for more darkness. Pause. The tension lingers, a heavy fog that refuses to lift. Pause. Stay tuned as this haunting tale continues to unravel. 1888 to September 30th, London. The city is gripped by fear as two murders occur in one night. A thick fog blankets the streets, muffling sounds and creating an eerie silence. Gas lamps flicker weakly, casting long shadows that dance in the gloom. The air is damp and heavy, filled with an unsettling tension. At 1 a.m, the first murder takes place. Elizabeth Stride, a 44-year-old woman known for her resilience, is found in Dutfield's yard. The area is dimly lit, bordered by high walls that loom like silent sentinels. A constable on patrol stumbles upon the scene. He shines his lantern into the yard, the beam cutting through the fog. The light falls upon Stride's lifeless body, grotesquely still on the ground. Her throat is cut, but her body remains mostly intact. There are no signs of a struggle. Distant footsteps. The constable, shaken, calls for backup. His voice echoes through the fog, unsettling the night. It pierces the quiet, sending a shiver down the spine of anyone nearby. Within minutes, officers arrive, their footsteps crunching on the cobblestones. They secure the area, keeping curious onlookers away. A crowd begins to gather, whispering nervously. The panic is palpable A living thing in the air. People exchange worried glance. The room falls quiet. D with fear. There is a pause. As dawn approaches, news spreads rapidly. The morning papers publish the first reports. Headlines scream of a murderer on the loose. Words like horror and killer splashed across the front pages. The public reacts with disbelief and fear. They wonder if they're safe in their own homes. The bustling streets of London feel different now. A sense of dread hangs over the city. Later that night, at approximately 1:45 a.m., the second murder occurs. Catherine Eddowes, a 46-year-old woman who has faced her own struggles, is found in Mitre Square. The square is busy with evening activity. People meander home after a long day, unaware of the horror that awaits. Faint chatter. A constable on patrol hears a commotion and moves toward the sound. His footsteps quickening, heart racing. Eddowes lies on the ground, surrounded by a growing pool of blood. Her injuries are severe, a brutal testament to the violence that has gripped the city. The horror, the room falls quiet, Mayor made real. There is a pause. Within moments, word of Eddowes' murder spreads again. The atmosphere shifts dramatically. People are terrified, their faces pale, eyes darting around. They cling to each other, desperate for safety. Voices rise in panic. Someone shouts that a killer is among them, the words echoing ominously in the square. Raised voices. In just a few hours, London endures 2 murders. The city's heartbeat quickens, a frantic rhythm of fear. Stride and Eddowes become part of the city's macabre lore, their names forever linked to this night of terror. The police scramble to respond. Their investigative efforts increase, a frantic race against time. Officers patrol the streets in pairs, eyes scanning the shadows, alert for any sign of the killer. Every alley feels menacing. The fog thickens, the room falls quiet. Them like a shroud. There is a pause. Residents are on edge. They lock their doors early, bolting them tight. Windows are closed, curtains drawn, shielding themselves from the horrors outside. Rumours swirl in the streets. Some think it's a single killer, others fear a gang. The police find little evidence to pin down a suspect, each passing hour deepening the mystery. Media coverage intensifies. Journalists swarm the murder sites, seeking exclusive information. They interview witnesses, their notebooks filled with frantic scribbles. The stories vary. Some heard screams, others saw nothing at all. Each account adds to the confusion, a tapestry of fear woven from fragmented truths. Rustling papers. A dark cloud settles over the city. The public's trust in safety erodes. Merchants see decreased business. People prefer to stay indoors, the lure of the streets overshadowed by fear. In the coming days, the Ripper's notoriety grows. The name becomes synonymous with fear. The double murder marks a shift in public perception. Each new report amplifies the dread, transforming whispers into shouts of panic. People start to talk about the Ripper more frequently, the name itself becoming a chilling reminder of the unknown. On October 1st, the police announce a £100 reward for information. They hope to entice witnesses. The response is mixed. Some come forward, eager to help, but many remain silent. A moment of silence follows, yell grip on the community. There is a pause. Meanwhile, the police begin to connect the murders. They consider the method, the chilling timing. Both victims were vulnerable women with similar backgrounds, struggling in a city that often overlooked them. Stride and Eddowes share a tragic fate, their stories entwined in blood and sorrow. As the investigation unfolds, the city's tension rises. Each shadow and sound ignites dread in the hearts of the residents. The fear of the unknown looms large, a dark cloud that refuses to dissipate. People feel watched, hunted, as if the Ripper himself walks among them, hidden in plain sight. The public watches the police closely. They demand swift justice, but the Ripper remains elusive, a ghost haunting the streets. Night after night, the streets stay empty, a haunting silence settling over the city. Distant footsteps. The search for the killer grows desperate. The city feels like a pressure cooker, ready to explode. The police face immense scrutiny, every mistake amplified under the public's watchful eye. The two murders change everything. A new sense of urgency grips the investigation. The public demands answers, their patience wearing thin. As London's fog thickens, the Ripper's reign of terror takes hold. The fear solidifies, becoming a part of the city's identity. Each passing day deepens the paranoia, as the double event looms large in the collective memory. The significance of this night cannot be understated. The double event marks a point of no return. It ignites a citywide panic. The Ripper, a moment of silence follows. A rumour, he is a chilling reality. There is a pause. Communities unite in fear. They host meetings to discuss safety, sharing strategies. Women band together, walking in groups, their voices a blend of determination and anxiety. Men volunteer to patrol the streets at night, a show of solidarity. The sense of community intensifies, but so does the fear. The police implement new strategies. They increase patrols in dark areas, officers walking the streets, flashlights in hand, casting beams of light into the darkness. Yet even their presence fails to reassure the public. The shadows still feel alive with menace. Flashlight clicks. As the nights roll on, the fog remains a constant companion, thick and suffocating. It becomes a symbol of the uncertainty hanging over the city. As people question their safety, they also question the very fabric of London life. The sense of normalcy is shattered, replaced by a haunting unease. October unfolds and the Ripper's legend grows, becoming part of the city's dark history. The double event resonates throughout time. It shapes not only the investigation, but also the city's identity. Days turn into weeks. The hunt for the killer continues without a clear lead. Each murder leaves a deeper scar on the collective psyche, echoing in conversations and fearful glances. The echoes of that night linger. Stride and Eddowes become names etched in history, their stories woven into the fabric of London's dark past. And so, the fear solidifies into a new reality. The city must confront its demons. The Ripper is still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting. As October marches on, the tension remains. The public watches, waiting for justice, hoping for a glimmer of safety. What comes next? The search intensifies, but will the Ripper be caught? The city braces for what lies ahead. Pause. Next time, as the investigation unfolds, revealing the chilling depths of London's darkest chapter. 1888, September 27th, London. A letter arrives at the Central News Agency, signed Jack the Ripper. The city is engulfed in terror. A series of brutal murders has left the streets of Whitechapel in fear. The police are overwhelmed. They struggle to find a pattern or suspect. Investigators sift through dark alleys, searching for any clue that could lead them to the elusive killer. Public anxiety mounts as the body count rises. On this morning, the atmosphere is tense. The office is quiet, save for the soft rustle of paper and the creak of wooden chairs. An employee opens the worn brown envelope, its edges frayed from the journey. Envelope tearing curiosity piques among nearby workers. They lean in, eager to see what lies inside. The letter's language is crude yet theatrical. The writer boasts of evading justice, instilling dread in those who read it. They claim to have commit. The air grows heavy, leaving authorities scrambling for answers. There is a pause. The atmosphere shifts. Uncertainty lingers like a shadow. The ink is dark, stark against the yellowing pages. The signature, Jack the Ripper, sends shivers down the spine of anyone who reads it. This name carries a grotesque allure, a moniker that will haunt London forever. News of the letter spreads rapidly. Journalists gather, their footsteps echoing in the agency's halls. Footsteps. They sense a story that could captivate the public. The sound of typewriter keys clacking fills the air as reporters scramble to piece together the latest developments. The letter's contents are reported with urgency. The public's reaction is immediate. Fear escalates, panic widens. The streets of Whitechapel grow quieter, distant whispers. The stench of fear mixes with the damp air, creating palpable anxiety. As the letter circulates, detectives examine every word, searching for clues. The Ripper's taunts fuel their determination. With each public outcry, they realise their missteps are glaring. The Ripper's letters become infamously linked to the series of brutal murders. The police face a relentless ticking clock. The letter becomes a centrepiece in their investigation. They gather in dimly lit rooms, the heavy scent of smoke thick in the air as they strategize. Each word raises questions. Who is behind this? A moment of silence follows. What drives a person to toy with life and death? There is a pause. The detectives, usually stoic, feel the weight of the Ripper's presence, looming large. On the city streets, whispers spread among the populace. Did you hear about the letter? People ask, eyes wide with fear. The sense of safety erodes. Every shadow feels alive. Every noise sharpens the senses. Creaking floorboards. The urban landscape becomes one of paranoia. The media frenzy intensifies. Newspapers flood with headlines screaming of horror and intrigue. Jack the Ripper strikes again, they cry. Images of the letter appear. Bold and foreboding. The public is transfixed. The once quiet investigations now draw crowds. The Ripper's taunts fuel public fascination. Each new letter garners more attention, and the signature becomes a chilling emblem of menace. Fear mingles with morbid curiosity. The letters ignite debates in homes and pubs alike. As the letters continue to surface, the police receive more than just words. They get a glimpse into the mind of a moment of silence follows. S offer no insight into his identity, only deeper confusion. There is a pause. As they study the language, they note the writer's erratic style, marked by bravado. Days pass and anxiety hangs like a fog. The letter's impact alters the environment of Whitechapel. Streets, once filled with laughter, now echo with caution. The scent of fear permeates the alleyways. In the midst of this chaos, the police struggle with their response. They hold press conferences, appealing to the public for any information. Murmurs from the crowd. The air crackles with tension. Every face in the crowd seems to harbour the weight of hidden secrets. The letters push the police towards desperation. They set up a special unit to combat the Ripper's reign of terror. The sounds of hurried footsteps and urgent discussions fill the police precinct. Officers are on high alert, fueled by the urgency of the situation. Meanwhile, the public's fear evolves into fascination. The Ripper becomes a figure of intrigue. People around London engage in gruesome speculation, piecing together theories. The letters, while terrifying, become a part of the city's identity. Despite the chaos, the authorities hold on to hope. They believe the letters might reveal something. A moment of silence follows, scrutinized for a slip, a hint that could unveil the killer's identity. There is a pause. The smell of ink mingles with the mustiness of old paper. As the investigation deepens, the letters lead to a more extensive media narrative. They become the subject of discussions in salons and on street corners. The Ripper is no longer just a murderer. He becomes a character in a grim story that excites and frightens. The culmination of the letters brings mixed emotions. For the police, they represent both a challenge and a beacon of hope. For the public, they evoke a morbid curiosity. This duality sharpens the senses. The tension is palpable across London streets. With each new letter, the timeline of events escalates. The thrill of the chase heightens. The police remain vigilant, but the streets grow restless. An electric anticipation lingers in the air. As the investigation continues, more letters are expected. The writing seems to evolve, a dark confidence emanating from the pages. The chilling tale of Jack the Ripper is far from over. What will the next letter reveal? Each new arrival brings both dread and hope. The world watches closely, waiting for a breakthrough. The letters mark a pivotal moment in the history of this case, creating an unbreakable bond between the killer and the media. The city's heart races as they push forward, caught in a deadly game of cat and mouse. In the shadow of these taunts, the detectives remain committed. They know the stakes. The next chapter is about to unfold. November 9th, 1888, Miller's Court, London. The most gruesome murder yet is discovered. A chilling morning dawns, the air thick with the smell of damp earth and decay. The streets of Whitechapel, already steeped in fear, brace for more horror. Mary Jane Kelly, a familiar face in these streets, becomes the latest victim in a series of brutal crimes. At 10:45 a.m, a local resident knocks on the door of 13 Miller's Court. The door creaks open, revealing a dimly lit room. Inside lies a body sprawled on the floor, cold and still. It is Mary Jane Kelly, only 25 years old. Her lifeless form shows signs of extreme mutilation. Blood stains the floor and the walls, dark red against the white plaster. The sight is horrifying, shocking all who witness it. Distant gasp. In the next room, a neighbour hears muffled voices. The usual morning sounds of the city are muted by the gravity of the discovery. Outside, a horse-drawn carriage clatters down the cobblestone street, oblivious to the horror unfolding just steps away. Clattering hooves. The police are called immediately after the discovery. Officers arrive quickly, their faces pale as they take in the scene. They exchange wary glances, understanding the significance of what lies before. The room falls quiet. Just another murder. It is a brutal message from a killer who has evaded capture. There is a pause. The room is small and cluttered. A tattered bed sits against one wall, sheets dishevelled. The smell of stale tobacco mingles with the scent of blood. The officers can hardly breathe. They step cautiously over the threshold, careful not to disturb the scene more than necessary. Creaking floorboards. Minutes tick by with agonizing slowness. The officers cordon off the area, and a small crowd begins to gather outside. Murmurs ripple through the onlookers. Some are horrified, others curious. They can only imagine the horror inside. Hushed whispers. As detectives begin their investigation, they note the details. Mary Jane Kelly's face is almost unrecognizable, her features distorted by the brutality of the attack, her body. The room falls quiet. Uns, each more horrific than the last. This crime is unlike any they have seen before. There is a pause, and a camera shutter clicks in the background. Journalists rush in, eager for a story that will grip the public's imagination. The flash of their bulbs momentarily lights up the dark corners of the room, though the grim reality remains unchanged. Camera flash. An officer kneels beside her, his heart heavy. What drives a person to commit such an atrocity? The question looms large in the minds of all present. Outside, the crowd grows restless, the air thick with anticipation. Restless murmurs. The detectives piece together Mary Jane's last hours, although a moment of silence follows. About her life are lacking. Each detail adds to the tragic narrative surrounding her death. There is a pause. The door flings open as more officers arrive, their boots echoing on the wooden floor. They bring a sense of urgency. The news of the discovery spreads throughout the city. The press gathers outside, pushing for information. Fear begins to ripple through the streets of London. Footsteps. A detective examines the room further. He notes the lack of defensive wounds on Mary Jane's. The room falls quiet. She did not see her killer coming. It raises the terror of the unknown. Who would do this, and why? There is a pause. As the investigation continues, they find the remains of her clothing, torn and scattered. The ground beneath is sticky with blood, the reality of the horror setting in deeper. The small room, once a refuge, now feels like a tomb. Rustling fabric. The detectives step back to survey the scene. The air is thick with the metallic scent of blood. A reminder the air grows heavy. That has unfolded. The atmosphere is strained, each person aware of the weight of the tragedy before them. There is a pause. A coroner arrives, his face grim. He begins to document the scene, the brutality of the crime weighing heavily on him. For him, this is just another case, but for Mary Jane, this was her life. Her story, tragically cut short, pen scratching on paper. The sound of a distant bell tolls, marking the hour. Each chime resonates through the heavy atmosphere, a mournful reminder of the life lost. Bell tolling. As the scene unfolds, a local man steps forward. He claims to have seen a man lingering near the room falls quiet. Or, his shaky voice draws attention. Could this be a lead, or merely another false hope in a darkening tale? There is a pause. The officers take note of his statement, their minds racing. They know they need to act fast. The city is gripped by fear, and each moment wasted could mean another life lost. Hurried footsteps. Inside the room, the coroner begins his work. The sound of instruments clinking together fills the air. Each movement is methodical, the silence punctuated only by the grim sounds of the investigation. Clinking metal, the detectives gather as much evidence as possible. They know the air grows heavy, fervent. The brutality speaks volumes. The killer is still out there, lurking in the shadows, and the hunt is on. There is a pause. As the day unfolds, Mary Jane's story becomes a symbol of a larger tragedy. The streets of Whitechapel are filled with whispers of dread. The question looms, could this be the end of Jack the Ripper's reign of terror, or merely the beginning of something darker? Distant chatter. As the sun sets, casting a dim light over Miller's Court, the reality of the crime settles over the neighbourhood. The air is heavy with fear and uncertainty. The investigation is just beginning, and the spectre of Jack the Ripper continues to hang over London. Fading footsteps. In the coming days, the search for the killer intensifies. Mary Jane Kelly's story resonates, igniting a citywide panic. The question remains, who will be next? The investigation is far from over. With each passing moment, the tension grows. The hunt for the Ripper continues, and the lives of countless women hang in the balance. 1888-10-1, London. The police launch a massive manhunt for the elusive killer. Officers flood the dimly lit streets of Whitechapel, their lanterns casting flickering shadows on the cobblestones. Footsteps. The air is thick with tension. Residents peer from behind closed curtains, anxious whispers breaking the silence of the night. Recent murders have jolted the community, instilling an immediate sense of fear. Patrols increase. Officers walk in pairs, eyes vigilant, scanning every alley and corner. Echoing boots. Their boots strike the cold stones, a stark contrast to the hushed murmurs of those who watch. The dim light catches the worried expressions of onlookers, creating a scene filled with dread. Public appeals flood the streets. Posters plastered on walls demand, "Help us catch the Whitechapel murderer." The words flash under gaslight, each letter a plea for safety. Rustling paper reports of the murders spread through taverns and gathering spots. The clinking of glasses halts as stories unfold, faces turn pale. "Another victim," someone gasps, their voice barely above a whisper. The gravity of the situation settles in, fear festering like an open wound. As the sun rises, newspapers hit the stands. Sensational headlines scream for attention. "The Ripper strikes again," shouting newsboys. Newsboys shout into the early morning air, their voices mingling with the sound of horse-drawn carriages clattering over the cobblestones. Read all about it. The public's interest peaks, and crowds gather outside news offices, clutching their newspapers and scanning for any shred of information. Each headline ignites a mix of dread. Time seems to stand still. Itty. What kind of monster roams their streets? Police respond with urgency, studying the crime scene for any clues. There is a pause. The air is heavy with the weight of expectation. Minutes turn to hours as officers comb through the area, questioning locals. "Did you see anything unusual?" they ask. Most shake their heads, eyes wide with fear, while others step back, unwilling to engage. The atmosphere remains tense, thick with the unspoken fear of the unknown. Some, however, share their stories. A woman recalls hearing strange noises in the night. It sounded like someone crying, she whispers, her voice trembling. I thought it was just the wind, distant wind. Her words linger in the air, adding another layer to the community's anxiety. The officers take note, scribbling down every detail, hoping to piece together a clearer picture of the night. As dusk settles, urgency thickens the air. The police set up a perimeter, searching every shadowed space. Flickering lanterns. Lanterns illuminate their faces, revealing signs of exhaustion mixed with resolve. A man approaches the officers, claiming to have seen a figure near the crime scene. He was tall, he says, his voice low, dressed in black. The officers lean in, their interest piqued. Was this the lead they had been seeking? The man's description hangs heavy in the air, a glimmer of hope in the midst of chaos. The night deepens, distant sirens punctuate the quiet, and patrols remain vigilant, hearts racing at the thought of another attack. Rustling leaves. Every rustle draws their attention. Rumours swirl through the streets. Some say the killer is a local, others believe he's an outsider. Each theory is more outrageous than the last. The community is on edge. Who can be trusted? The tension is palpable as every corner feels like a potential hiding place for the murderer. Police release a description to the public. Look for a man with a moustache, murmurs. This shadowy figure lingers in the minds of residents. Days pass and the investigation intensifies. Officers scour the streets for anything unusual, relying on witness statements and basic evidence collection. The smell of damp earth and decay hangs heavy in the air, a constant reminder of the violence that has disrupted their lives. The media continues its relentless coverage. Each day brings a new scandalous headline, spreading fear like wildfire and igniting public hysteria. Newspaper rustling, the community rallies. Citizens form watch groups, patrolling the streets at night with makeshift lanterns, their faces etched with determination. Neighbours look out for each other, a bond forged in fear. They gather in small groups, sharing stories and theories, their voices a mix of fear and resolve. The police organise public meetings, pleading, "We need your help," murmuring crowd. The room buzzes with tension as people lean in, eager for information. Each person yearns for safety and answers. Local taverns become hubs of discussion where locals sip their drinks and exchange theories. Tension hangs in the air like smoke. "He must be caught soon," a man insists, his voice rising above the murmurs. "We can't live like this." The urgency in his tone resonates with everyone present. As October rolls on, the investigation deepens. Officers follow every lead, chasing shadows through the fog. Coal smoke. The smell of coal smoke fills the air, mingling with their unease. They analyse witness statements, piecing together a timeline. "I saw him," a man claims, his eyes wide with fear. "He walked by me, eyes wide, like he was searching for something." The officers take note, determined to find this elusive figure before more lives are lost. The sounds of the city blend into a cacophony. Horse hooves clip-clop against the cobblestones, and the distant hum of conversations fills the air. City sounds. The community is alive, but fear lurks beneath the surface. With each passing day, the pressure mounts. The police know they must act quickly. The killer remains at large, and the city is restless. A chilling message arrives, a letter taunting the authorities. "Catch me if you can," it reads, intensifying the weight of the challenge and hardening their resolve. Paper crumpling. The media amplifies the tension. A madman roams our streets. The community's fear morphs into anger. "Who is this man?" they demand. "Why can't they find him?" The questions echo through the alleyways and streets, becoming a part of the fabric of the community's daily life. As the sun sets again, patrols continue unabated. Officers walk slowly, eyes darting into every shadow. Deep breath. The thick night air feels charged as the city waits. The investigation intensifies, but fear doesn't fade. The streets pulse with uncertainty, and every corner holds a whisper of dread. The police remain determined, aware that time is running out. In the heart of Whitechapel, the manhunt expands. The people want closure, they crave safety. With every passing moment, the tension builds. The mystery deepens, the night stretches on, uncertainty looming over the city. The chase continues, a moment of silence follows. Remains elusive. What will the dawn bring? As the investigation reveals a new lead, the streets come alive with anticipation. There is a pause. The community holds its breath. Will they finally catch the man who has instilled such fear? October 15th, 1888, London. A report is released detailing the investigation's progress. The atmosphere is tense, thick with uncertainty. News of the investigation spreads quickly, reaching anxious citizens. The streets of London buzz with whispers. Each person feels the weight of the unknown pressing down on them. Officers gather in dimly lit rooms. Flickering gas lamps illuminate their furrowed brows. They review their findings, the air heavy with the scent of tobacco smoke and damp paper. They search for clues in the dark corners of Whitechapel, a district gripped by fear. Numerous witness reports flood in, but each account varies wildly, complicating the search. Rustling papers. The report indicates the police have collected evidence from the latest murder scene, though specifics remain vague. Officers exchange worried glances, knowing the pressure mounts with every tick of the clock. The sound of a clock ticking nearby matches the rhythm of their anxious hearts. Ticking clock. Public pressure is immense. The media churns out sensational stories. Headlines scream of horror and intrigue, capturing the public's imagination. Crowds gather outside police stations, demanding answers. Whispers of panic spread through the streets, echoing against brick walls. The sound of murmured fears mixes with the clatter of horse-drawn carriages moving through the fog. The night air carries a chill, making every passerby shudder as they feel the weight of growing unease. Horse hooves on cobblestones. Investigators face a daunting challenge. They have few leads and even less time. Desperation sets into their discussions. Each man wonders, will we find the killer before fear consumes the city? The question lingers, heavy and unspoken. As night descends, shadows deepen, obscuring the truth. The flickering gas lamps struggle against the darkness, casting long shadows along the cobblestone streets. Flickering flame. The report highlights the lack of forensic science available to the detectives of the time. They sift through the chaos of witness statements, piecing together a coherent narrative. Every account seems like a puzzle piece that doesn't fit. The tension in the air is palpable, thickening with every hour that passes without a breakthrough. Officers' voices rise and fall, a mix of frustration and determination. Murmurs of conversation. Citizens rally, growing restless. They gather in pubs and homes, sharing their fears. Faces are pale, eyes wide with anxiety. Some consider forming vigilante groups, convinced the police are ill-equipped to handle the crisis. The public outcry is relentless. A mix of fear and outrage fills the streets. The evening air vibrates with the sound of voices raised in frustration. The clinking of glasses in nearby taverns punctuates the conversations, contrasting sharply with the grim reality outside. Clinking glasses. Meanwhile, the police work tirelessly. Officers comb through alleys, looking for any sign of the elusive killer. They scour the tenements, questioning residents. Many are reluctant to speak, fearing repercussions. The fear of the unknown hangs in the air, a bitter taste in the mouths of those living in the shadow of violence. The sound of footsteps echoes in the narrow passageways, blending with the distant murmur of life continuing despite the chaos. Footsteps echoing. The report details the public's response to the murders. Londoners are on edge, clutching their belongings tightly as they navigate the dark streets. The scent of smoke from nearby chimneys mixes with the cold night air, a stark reminder of harsh realities. Every sound, A creaking door, a distant shout, sends hearts racing. The very fabric of the city feels frayed as paranoia creeps into everyday life. Creaking door. Detectives push forward, driven by urgency. Every hour counts. They meet with community leaders, urging them to calm the public. The pressure to solve the case mounts, as each day without answers feels like a failure. The sound of footsteps echoes in the halls of the police station, a reminder of the work still to be done. Papers rustle and pens scratch against parchment as officers document every detail of their findings. Pen scratching. Despite their efforts, leads remain elusive. The report notes the lack of solid evidence linking suspects to the crimes. Each theory leads to dead ends. Frustration builds as the investigation drags on. The weight of responsibility bears down on the officers. They know they must find the killer before the city unravels. Heavy sighs. As night settles deeper, the flickering gaslights create an eerie ambience. Officers remain vigilant, eyes scanning the streets for any sign of movement. The air is thick, amplifying every creak and rustle. A distant bell tolls, marking the passing of yet another hour without resolution. The sound resonates through the night, a haunting reminder of time slipping away. Distant bell tolling. The police report closes with a plea for public cooperation. Detectives know they cannot do this alone. They urge citizens to share any information, no matter how insignificant it may seem. Hope remains that someone might hold the key to unmasking the killer. The weight of silence is heavy in the air, as each individual grapples with their own fears. The tension lingers, a taut string waiting to snap. Silence. The streets quiet down, but the tension doesn't dissipate. The city is on high alert. Every shadow is scrutinized. The sound of whispers fills the corners of pubs, mixing with the clinking of glasses. People cling to one another, seeking comfort in shared fear. The night stretches on, filled with unanswered questions. The weight of the investigation hangs over the community, and everyone feels it. Whispers. In the coming days, the investigation will intensify. The police will continue their search, driven by a commitment to restore safety to the streets. The community will hold its breath, waiting for a breakthrough. The stakes are high, and the fear is real. The scent of anxiety lingers in the air as the city braces for what comes next. Deep breath. As the report fades from the headlines, the police remain focused. The clock ticks, and every tick echoes with urgency. Will they catch the killer before panic consumes the city? The answer lies just beyond the horizon, waiting to reveal itself. Next, the investigation takes a turn. New leads emerge that may change everything. The search is far from over, and the city braces for the next chapter in this grim tale. Turning page. 1888, October 20th, London. Various suspects are named in the media and by the police. The city is charged with tension. A series of brutal murders has gripped the East End, leaving the community in fear. Women of the night, once a familiar sight, now evoke dread as they navigate the darkened streets, their lives hanging in the balance. The police face immense pressure to solve the case, while the media stokes public hysteria, hungry for sensational stories. The streets hum with low murmurs and anxious whispers. The air is thick with fear. Speculation fills the atmosphere like a fog, oppressive and stifling. Today the press has a field day, highlighting potential suspects in the ongoing murder investigation. Newspapers scream for attention, eager to capture the public's imagination. The gruesome details of the crimes fuel the frenzy, igniting a wildfire of theories and rumours. The sound of ink scratching on paper fills the newsrooms as reporters race against time to print the latest developments. Among the names surfacing, Montague John Druitt stands out. He is a 31-year-old barrister and teacher, known for his charm and intelligence. Reports suggest he may have drowned in the Thames just days after the last murder. The idea of him being a suspect shocks his acquaintances, who describe him as a well-mannered gentleman. They remember his polite smile, how he could light up a room. A chill runs through the crowd as people consider the implications of such an accusation. Druitt's background is scrutinised. His family had a history of mental health issues. Friends note he behaved strangely around the time of the murders. Some recall odd conversations filled with dark thoughts, but for many, it remains a mere theory, a whisper in the dark. Distant church bell tolls. Across town, another name emerges, Aaron Kosminski. He is a 23-year-old Polish immigrant living in Whitechapel. He works as a barber, a trade that keeps him closely tied to the community. Witnesses describe him in various terms, some seeing him as harmless, others as a lurking figure. Rumours swirl about his presence in the area around the time of the murders, igniting fears that he might be more than just a simple barber. In local pubs, patrons debate Kosminski's potential involvement, their voices rising with each drink. The clinking of glasses punctuates their conversations as they become more convinced of his guilt. Speculation about his time spent in the dark alleys of Whitechapel deepens the city's unease. The smell of damp wood and spilled ale fills the air, a backdrop to their heated discussions. As the day goes on, the media intensifies its hunt for the truth. Each morning newspaper brings new theories, some outlandish, others chillingly plausible. The public's appetite for answers grows insatiable. Voices rise in heated discussion, echoing through the narrow streets. The sound of rustling newspapers and passionate debates creates a cacophony of anxiety. Both Druitt and Kosminski become the centre of a media frenzy. They represent two different faces of fear. One is the educated gentleman, the other the impoverished immigrant. Both are suspects, but as details emerge, the public struggles to reconcile their different worlds. The stark contrast between their backgrounds fuels further speculation. Montague Druitt's social circles begin to fracture. Friends grow distant, unsure of how to engage with someone now painted as a murderer in the press. The sound of clinking glasses and hushed conversations fills the air in his previous haunts. The atmosphere shifts, laughter fades into uncomfortable silence as people glance sideways, avoiding eye contact. Meanwhile, whispers about Kosminski paint him as a villain lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike again. The tension is palpable, a thick veil of distrust hanging over the community. The police find themselves under pressure, facing demands for definitive answers. They are inundated with tips and claims. Some are credible, many are not. The public's fear and fascination create an almost frenzied atmosphere. The cries for justice echo loudly in the cold London air, mingling with the distant sounds of horse-drawn carriages rattling over cobblestones. As the afternoon wanes, the glare of gas lamps flickers on, illuminating the faces of anxious citizens. Each light casts shadows that flicker and dance, mirroring the uncertainty that grips the city. Who is the true killer? The question hangs heavy in the air, unanswered. The names of Druitt and Kosminski intertwine in the minds of those who follow the case. Each suspect elicits different emotions from the public. Druitt's genteel background leads some to dismiss him outright, while others find Kosminski's immigrant status a convenient scapegoat for their fears. The scent of smoke from nearby chimneys fills the air, mixing with the smell of fear that permeates the streets. Police begin to sift through rumours and leads. Officers patrol the streets, eyes scanning for suspicious behaviour. The sound of footsteps echoes softly against cobblestones, a constant reminder of the terror that has seeped into daily life. The tension is almost tangible, crackling with each passing moment. Further complicating matters, a few local witnesses come forward, claiming to have seen Kosminski near the crime scenes. But the accounts are vague and the credibility of these witnesses remains uncertain. The scent of damp clothes and the cold air wrap around them, fueling the tension of the search for truth. Meanwhile, Druitt's family becomes increasingly worried about public perception. They send letters to the police, urging them to investigate their son's character. But the media has already cast its net wide, spreading rumours faster than the police can keep up. The sound of newspapers rustling fills the air as articles spread like wildfire. The press, hungry for sensational stories, focuses on the suspects with relentless vigour. Each headline sharpens the public's fear, igniting conversations that linger long into the night. The flicker of gas lamps casts long shadows, creating a sense of foreboding. The public's ideas about the murders evolve with every passing hour. Each revelation births new theories. Who is the killer? Druitt or Kosminski? Speculation surrounds both suspects. The narrative expands, fueled by fear and desperation for closure. As night falls, shadows stretch across the streets, dark and foreboding. The flicker of gas lamps casts a warm glow on anxious faces. People gather in small clusters, sharing their fears and theories. The sense of dread thickens in the air, a heavy cloak of worry wrapping around the city. In the days that follow, both Druitt and Kosminski find themselves trapped in a web of suspicion. They are not just suspects. They have become symbols of the fear gripping London. The media's relentless pursuit for a narrative leaves little room for nuance. The echo of footsteps becomes a haunting reminder of the search for the truth. As rumours swirl, the hunt for the killer intensifies. The public clings to the names of Druitt and Kosminski, as if by naming them, they can control the chaos that surrounds them. Each suspect evokes different responses, but both stir the same sense of horror. The questions linger. Who will be arrested? Who will be cleared? The city waits, holding its breath, as the tale of Jack the Ripper unfolds. The sound of distant laughter contrasts sharply with the tension in the air, a reminder of the life that continues despite the fear. Across London, the streets pulse with a mix of anxiety and intrigue. While the mystery deepens, whispers grow louder, and the fear continues to loom, casting a long shadow over the city. Next, the investigation shifts gears as the police delve deeper into the lives of these men. How will the truth emerge from the shadows? Stay with us as the story unfolds. November 10th, 1888, London. The investigation reaches a critical point as leads dwindle. The air is thick with uncertainty. Police officers gather in dimly lit rooms, poring over the latest findings under flickering gas lamps. The walls resonate with whispers of frustration. In Whitechapel, the streets, once alive with chatter and fear, have quieted. Citizens clutch newspapers, their pages filled with sensational headlines. The gruesome murders continue to captivate the city, but hope is slipping away. Rustle of newspaper. Since the last murder, police focus on several suspects. Montague John Druitt, an educated barrister, is rumoured to have drowned some time ago, raising questions about his involvement. Aaron Kosminski, a Polish immigrant and barber, has been seen frequently in the area. Some locals view him with suspicion, while others see him as harmless. This disparity adds to the chaos. Distant horse-drawn carriage. Outside, the sound of horse-drawn carriages rattles over cobblestones, breaking the silence. A group of citizens gathers near, the room falls quiet. Heads bent together in hushed discussion. Tension hangs in the air, reflected in their tired faces, a mix of anxiety and frustration. There is a pause. Constables patrol the streets, their lanterns swinging as they walk in pairs. The flickering light casts long shadows that mirror the uncertainty gripping the community. They search for anything that could lead them closer to the killer. The streets remain dimly lit, and the gas lamps flicker weakly against the encroaching darkness. Flickering gas lamp. Officers file into a cramped office. Papers rustle as detectives consult their notebooks. Each detail is scrutinized, every clue examined for potential links. A clock ticks steadily in the corner, a reminder that time is running out. Officers feel the weight of the public's expectations. Ticking clock. The air grows heavy. "Rom the public about Kosminski?" one officer asks. glancing at the others. Tension hangs heavy. They shake their heads. Leads have dried up. There is a pause. The police face mounting pressure. Outside, a crowd forms near the station, demanding updates. Voices rise in frustration, echoing through the damp streets. The community's anxiety has transformed into anger. The police struggle to maintain order. Murmurs of a crowd. Back at the station, an officer points at a map. We need to revisit this area. The last known sightings were here, near the pubs. Fingers trace the outline of the streets. Finger tracing on paper. Gas lamps flicker outside, illuminating the worried faces of onlookers. People peer through the windows, their expressions a mix of fear and curiosity. The air smells of smoke and rain, a reminder that darkness has settled over the city. Distant rain. Amidst the growing unrest, a witness steps forward. A woman recalls hearing strange noises the night of the time, seems to stand still. Her voice trembles with fear as she recounts the details. I heard footsteps, then silence, she says, eyes wide with terror, and then nothing. There is a pause. The officers jot down her words, but it feels like a small victory in an overwhelming battle. The questions linger, unanswered. Who is the killer? What drives him to commit such atrocities? Pen scratching on paper. As the investigation stagnates, media coverage remains significant, though public fervour begins to wane. Crowds once eager for updates now turn their attention elsewhere, but the headlines still scream from the pages of newspapers, keeping the mystery alive in the minds of the citizens. Newspaper flipping. At a local pub, a group of men huddles around a table. They're not doing enough, one man complains, his voice rising above the murmurs. They should be out there, not sitting in their offices. Clinking of glasses. Fingers drum against the wooden table. A rhythm of F-time seems to stand still. Our tender pours pints, serving patrons who share tales of fear. The atmosphere is thick with uncertainty, and the tension in the room is almost tangible. There is a pause. Meanwhile, the police continue to gather evidence. Papers fill their desks, notes from interviews, reports from the latest crime scenes. They study the details, trying to make sense of the chaos, paper shuffling. One officer stands up, his hands resting on the table. We need to act. We have to go back to the neighbourhoods and talk to everyone. Someone must know something. Chair scraping. He steps out into the night, joining his fellow officers on the streets. The gas lamps flicker as they move forward. Illumi. The room falls quiet, lined with determination. Footsteps on cobblestones. Look out for anything unusual, another officer reminds him. Even the smallest detail could be a lead. There is a pause. Constables fan out through the dark alleys of Whitechapel. They knock on doors, questioning residents about anything they might have seen. Some are reluctant to speak, their fear of the unknown evident in their eyes. Others share what little they know, but every detail feels like a thread pulled from a fraying fabric. Knocking on doors. With each the room falls quiet. The city's fear grows. Residents whisper about the killer, forming their own theories. The fear becomes a living thing, creeping into homes and settling in hearts. There is a pause, and as dawn approaches, the officers regroup at a designated meeting point. The first light of day breaks through the darkness, casting an eerie glow on the faces of the weary officers. They share what they've gathered, but know it may not be enough. Birds' time seems to stand still. Tegation has reached a critical point. Desperation hangs in the air as officers realise they are running out of time. The community watches closely, waiting for answers. There is a pause. In the days that follow, the atmosphere shifts. The tension remains, but public interest wanes further. The streets of London grow quieter, the shadows longer. The investigation continues, but hope is becoming a distant memory. Fading footsteps. A moment of silence follows. Lice do next. Will their efforts lead to a breakthrough? Or will the killer remain elusive amidst the shadows of London? As the city holds its breath, the answers remain unknown. There is a pause. As night falls again, the flickering gas lamps cast ghostly shapes on the cobbled streets, where whispers of dread linger. The hunt for the killer continues, but the clock ticks on. Ticking clock. What leads will emerge in the investigation? The city waits, teetering on the edge of fear and anticipation. November 30th, 1888, London. The murders cease, leaving the city in suspense. The streets of Whitechapel are filled with an uneasy quiet. Citizens tread cautiously, eyes darting at every flicker of shadow beneath the gas lamps. Footsteps. Police officers patrol the dimly lit alleys, their expressions grim. Frustration has replaced the vigilance they once maintained. After months of terror, the killer remains elusive. Constable John Thane walks alongside a partner, their boots echoing against the cobblestones. They exchange glances, concern unspoken, distant murmurs. As night falls, the city exhales, but the tension is thick. Rumours swirl, and with each passing day, hope dims. Residents whisper behind closed doors, recounting tales of the brutality that has plagued their neighbourhood. Eyes peer through the cracks of drawn curtains, filled with worry. Creaking wood. Public sentiment shifts. In local taverns, patrons discuss the murders over pints of ale. The air is thick with tension and uncertainty. One man shakes his head, recalling the horrors. "No one is safe," he mutters, his voice low and shaky. The urgency of the police feels futile as they grapple with leads that lead nowhere. Clinking glasses. Outside the news offices, crowds gather, clutching newspapers. Headlines scream of a killer on the loose. The media fuels hysteria with every report. The public's fear is palpable. They demand justice. Voices rise in anger, echoing through the streets. Posters plastered on walls read, "Help us catch the Whitechapel murderer." The police remain persistent, but their efforts yield no results. Shuffling papers. The sound of a clock ticking fills the background, matching the rhythm of anxious hearts. Officers document every detail meticulously, but leads grow colder by the day. Investigators meet in dimly lit rooms, flickering gas lamps casting dancing shadows on the walls. They pore over the evidence, feeling the weight of a chilling unknown. Pens scratching on parchment. Citizens express their frustrations openly. In the heart of Whitechapel, a meeting is held. Officers stand at the front, faces set in determination. They urge the gathering crowd for assistance, asking for any information, no matter how small. Whispers of recent sightings circulate, but each lead dissipates like smoke. Murmurs of the crowd. A local man steps forward, claiming to have seen a shadowy figure near one of the murder scenes. "Tall, maybe," he says, uncertainty evident in his voice. The crowd listens, but skepticism hangs heavy in the air. Police take notes, hopeful yet wary of another dead end. Scratching of a pencil. The community's anxiety deepens. The fear of the unknown gnaws at them. What drives a person to commit such atrocities? Questions linger unanswered. Families stay close to home, barring their doors early. Mothers tell their children to keep close, avoiding the streets after dark. The sense of security has shattered, leaving behind a fragile shell. A child's soft whimper. Days turn into weeks, and still no new developments arise. The silence is deafening. "Is the killer gone for good?" a woman asks, her voice laced with dread, as she clutches her shawl tighter against the chill. The response is a murmur of uncertainty, wind howling softly. The police respond with stern warnings against reckless actions that could jeopardize the investigation. They emphasize the importance of cooperation. But the community is restless. Pubs buzz with discussions about the latest theories regarding the killer's identity. Some suspect Montague John Druitt, while others point fingers at Aaron Kosminski, the barber. Glasses clinking. As December approaches, unease persists in Whitechapel. The nights grow longer, and the cold sets in. Gas lamps flicker weakly, casting long shadows that mirror the uncertainty gripping the city. A creeping sense of dread blankets the neighbourhood as they wait for news. But news does not come. The police remain vigilant, but frustration is evident. Distant carriage wheels. In the background, the sound of a horse-drawn carriage rattles past, adding to the eerie atmosphere. Residents peer out from behind their curtains, watching as officers walk in pairs, eyes scanning every alley and corner. The tension is thick. Every creak of a floorboard feels amplified. Creaking floorboards. Time drags on, and the absence of new incidents creates a strange tension. The community finds itself in a state of numbness. The initial shock of the murders fades into a haunting silence, yet the fear lingers. The police continue their patrols, but the lack of leads leaves them feeling defeated. Heavy sighs. The investigation seems to stall, yet the pressure on the police remains relentless. Public meetings grow tense as citizens demand answers. What will it take to restore a sense of safety? Familiar faces become mere shadows, and the city is left in limbo, caught between hope and despair. Anxious chatter. Signs of weariness appear in the faces of the officers. They wear their uniforms like a weight, a constant reminder of their duty amidst an unyielding mystery. The flickering gas lamps illuminate their tired expressions as they gather in small groups, discussing tactics for the next phase of the investigation. Low voices in conversation. As the final days of November slip by, the chilling reality settles in. The killer is still at large, and the community remains on edge. The cold settles deep, but an even deeper chill runs through the streets of Whitechapel. They cling to the hope that the next day will bring answers, yet the shadows continue to grow. Distant clock chiming. What lies ahead for the citizens of Whitechapel? Will the elusive killer strike again? As the darkness deepens, the uncertainty of their fate looms larger than ever, leaving them to grapple with their fears and the unknown that still lingers in the shadows. The next chapter waits in silence, shrouded in mystery. 1888, December 1st, London. Theories about the Ripper's identity begin to circulate. The air is thick with speculation. Gloomy skies reflect the unease gripping the city. In the wake of the brutal murder on November 9th, 1888, a fever pitch of theories ignites. Public fascination grows, feeding on fear and mystery. Newspapers flood the streets with headlines screaming of the elusive killer. Hushed conversations fill dimly lit taverns as patrons debate possible suspects. Montague John Druitt's name surfaces. The 31-year-old barrister, known for his charm and intelligence, is rumoured to have drowned shortly after the last confirmed murder. Some wonder if his genteel background could hide a darker side. Others dismiss him, struggling to believe a man of his standing could commit such violence. Clinking glasses. Papers describe Druitt as a well-mannered gentleman with a polite smile. Whispers about his family's history of mental health issues begin to circulate, adding fuel to speculation. In the flickering light of gas lamps, a group of men discusses whether his tragic end in the Thames was suicide or a cover-up, all based on conjecture rather than fact. Low murmurs. Meanwhile, Aaron Kosminski, a 23-year-old Polish immigrant, emerges as another potential suspect. He works as a barber in Whitechapel, where the murders have taken place. His frequent presence in the area raises eyebrows. Some locals view him as harmless, while others describe him as a lurking figure. The tension in the pubs escalates as patrons dissect his behaviour, pondering if he could be the killer, though their conclusions remain speculative. Footsteps. Kosminski's name echoes through the streets. Rumours about his character swirl, deepening the public's interest. A man leans in to share a story about seeing Kosminski leaving a dark alley the night of one of the murders. Conversations heighten as witnesses recount strange encounters, but all remain unverified. Whispers. In the background, the sound of a clock ticking matches the rhythm of anxious hearts. Officers patrol with urgency, scanning the shadows, hoping to glimpse the man responsible for the horror gripping the city. The streets are filled with echoes of footsteps and soft murmurs of fear, clock ticking. As December unfolds, the hunt for the killer intensifies. Posters demanding help are plastered on walls, attracting attention from passers-by. The city becomes a canvas for collective dread, with citizens scanning the alleys for signs of the Ripper. The very act of walking the streets feels charged with trepidation. Rustling paper. Constables gather in dimly lit rooms to review evidence. They discuss suspects and motives, fueled by pressure to bring justice to the victims. But the evidence remains murky. A lack of forensic science complicates the investigation. Officers document findings on parchment, brows furrowed in concentration, scratching pen on paper. In the pubs, locals trade stories, searching for connections among the victims. There's talk of what drives a person to commit such atrocities. Theories about a psychological profile of the killer begin to take shape. Some believe he must have a history of violence, while others think he could be a disillusioned member of society, driven to madness. Glass clinking. The atmosphere in London is electric. People gather outside news offices, clutching newspapers. They whisper about the latest developments in the case, eyes darting nervously. The fear is palpable, a living entity gripping the heart of the city. Distant chatter. A woman recalls hearing strange noises in the night. Another man claims to have seen a figure near the crime scenes. Their accounts vary, adding to the confusion. Yet each new detail fuels the public's morbid curiosity. The community is united in its quest for answers, but no one knows who to trust. Faint footsteps. As night falls, gas lamps flicker weakly, illuminating the faces of officers. They walk in pairs, eyes vigilant, scanning every alley and corner. The streets of Whitechapel become a labyrinth of shadows, where fear lingers like fog. Horse-drawn carriage rattling. Every sound seems amplified. A horse-drawn carriage rattles along the cobblestones, echoing in the silence. As it passes, residents peer from behind closed curtains, hearts racing. In the distance, a clock chimes, marking the passage of time as it drifts slowly toward midnight. Clock chiming. The theories surrounding the Ripper's identity continue to evolve. Some suggest the killer is a local man, familiar with the area. Others propose he may be a visitor, passing through Whitechapel unnoticed. The community feels the weight of uncertainty pressing down. Murmurs of agreement. There's talk of a possible connection to a witness who claims to have seen a man lingering near the court the night before one of the murders. The local man's sighting could be a lead, but it remains unconfirmed. Officers follow up on every potential clue, hoping for a breakthrough, footsteps fading. Public meetings are organised, urging citizens to assist in the investigation. They gather in community halls, sharing their fears and thoughts. Anxious whispers fill the room as locals voice concerns about the safety of their families. Rustling of chairs. As December deepens, police face increasing pressure to solve the case. The city is charged with tension, each day bringing new rumours and speculation. Citizens gather in small groups, sharing insights, but the answers remain elusive. Distant laughter. In the background hum, newspapers hit the stands with sensational headlines. The public devours every detail, hungry for information, even if it's just speculation. The media's relentless pursuit fuels public hysteria. The investigation continues, but the killer remains at large. Paper rustling. The weight of the unknown lingers over the city like a dark cloud. The search for the Ripper stirs a blend of fear and intrigue as the public grapples with the reality of living in a city haunted by violence. Deep breath. As the scene unfolds, the question remains, who is the true killer? Theories swirl, but the truth lies just out of reach. The community remains vigilant, aware that the next chapter of this harrowing tale is yet to be written. With the investigation ongoing and more theories emerging, the citizens of London hold their breath. What new leads will emerge in the pursuit of justice? The night is still young. and the shadows continue to whisper. Fading footsteps. December 15th, 1888. London. The Ripper's legacy begins to take shape in popular culture. The streets pulse with an undercurrent of fear and curiosity. It's a bitter cold morning, and the air is thick with tension. The public, still haunted by the gruesome murders, grapples with the chilling reality of the killings that have left lasting scars on the community. Residents whisper, in hushed tones, casting wary glances at shadows that loom in the dim light. The scent of smoke wafts from nearby chimneys, mingling with unease in the cold air. The flickering gas lamps cast an eerie glow, illuminating the faces of those who venture out. As newspapers hit the stands, sensational headlines proclaim the latest details of the investigation. "Another victim found," screams one, while another declares, "Police scramble for leads." Piles of papers are stacked outside news offices, with crowds clamouring for updates, their breath visible in the frigid air. The media thrives on the tragedy, spinning tales that blur the line between fact and fiction. The sound of shuffling feet and anxious voices fills the air as people jostle for the latest edition, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and fascination. The stories of the victims, Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, and Catherine Eddowes, are recounted in every tavern and corner shop. Patrons share details over pints, their voices a mix of sympathy and morbid curiosity. The local man who claimed to have seen a figure near the scenes of the crimes becomes a figure of intrigue. People lean closer, eager to hear every chilling word. The clinking of glasses and the low hum of conversation create a backdrop to the recounting of horror as the community grapples with their shared trauma. As the investigation unfolds, various suspects emerge, their names whispered in fear. Montague John Druitt and Aaron Kosminski dominate conversations. The contrast between them fuels speculation around the tavern tables. Druitt, a barrister known for his charm, seems unlikely, too refined, too out of place in the grim reality of Whitechapel. Kosminski, a Polish barber, stirs fear with whispers of his mental state. The mere mention of his name sends shivers through the crowd. Both men encapsulate the tension of the times, drawing interest from the public and the media alike. Meanwhile, authorities remain under immense pressure. The investigation is ongoing, a continuation from the last confirmed murder on November 9th, 1888. Yet leads are few and far between, like wisps of smoke in the cold morning air. The sound of a clock ticking fills the atmosphere, matching the officers' racing hearts as they sift through evidence in dimly lit rooms. The police are determined to solve the case, but the shadows grow longer with each passing day, casting doubt on their efforts. The public's desire for closure intensifies with each passing hour. Posters demanding answers are plastered on walls across the city. "Help us catch the Whitechapel murderer," they plead, a stark reminder of the fear gripping the community. The paper rustles in the wind as children dart past, unaware of the horror lurking just beyond their neighbourhood. Citizens band together for safety, forming watch groups that patrol the streets after dark, armed with little more than lanterns and a strong sense of community. The sound of their footsteps echoes in the stillness of the night. The atmosphere thickens with uncertainty. Gas lamps flicker, casting erratic shadows that dance along the cobblestones, creating an illusion of movement. Conversations in pubs turn serious, and the laughter becomes tinged with worry. Will the killer strike again? This question looms large in the minds of many, creating an undercurrent of anxiety that's palpable. As the holiday season approaches, the city becomes a blend of cheer and dread. Streets are adorned with decorations, yet the weight of fear hangs heavy in the air. Families gather, but the spectre of the Ripper lingers, casting a shadow over celebrations. The smell of roasted chestnuts wafts through the streets, mingling with the scent of fear. In this charged atmosphere, the police face mounting pressure. Investigators sift through evidence, documenting every detail meticulously. The dimly lit rooms of the police station echo with discussion, but clarity remains elusive. Officers pore over notebooks filled with scrawled observations, their brows furrowed in concentration. The ongoing investigations spark public interest, turning the case into a communal obsession. People share rumours and theories, each one adding another layer to the mystery of the Ripper. The allure of solving the case becomes a topic of spirited discussion, igniting passions. The echo of laughter from the pub contrasts sharply with the grim reality being faced just outside. As the days turn to weeks, the city, once vibrant, now bears the mark of fear, yet within that fear lies an undeniable tension, a complication of emotions that the public cannot shake. The cold December air bites at faces as people gather outside news offices, eyes wide with anticipation for the next report. As December chills the air, the haunting questions about the Ripper's identity and motives linger. Will the truth ever emerge from the darkness? The community is left searching for answers, even as the investigation deepens. The sound of shuffling feet and anxious murmurs fills the streets, each person hoping for some form of resolution. In the silent hum of the city, hope and dread intertwine. The search for justice grows ever more desperate. What new leads will emerge in the investigation? The police officers, their faces illuminated by the flickering gas lamps, continue to patrol the streets, the shadows seeming to close in around them. The tension in London is palpable as night falls once more. The flickering gas lamps illuminate the faces of those who seek closure, while the shadow of the Ripper remains firmly entrenched in the hearts of the people. Next time, the story continues as the investigation deepens and the public grapples with the realities of fear in their streets. Will justice ever be served? The questions remain unanswered, echoing through the cold, dark nights of London. Word count 973. 2023, January 1st. Various modern forensic techniques are applied to the case. In a historical research centre, scholars gather around old documents and photographs. Their voices are low, filled with reverence. They discuss the infamous cases that have captivated the public's imagination for over a century. The atmosphere is thick with the weight of history. Each artifact serves as a reminder of lives lost and a community shaken to its core. Pages turning. In 1888, 5 women, Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly, were brutally murdered in the Whitechapel district. Their cases remain among the most notorious. In a moment of silence follows. Historians and researchers are determined to breathe new life into these cold cases. They seek to understand the lives of the victims and the societal conditions that led to such violence. There is a pause. A team of researchers studies the original case files, handling the documents with great care. One historian points to a faded photograph of Mary Ann Nichols. Her face is a haunting reminder of the tragedy that unfolded in the dark streets of Whitechapel. The team examines the circumstances surrounding each victim's life, piecing together stories often overshadowed by the brutality of their deaths. A clock ticking. As they work, the room fills with the scent of old paper and ink, a tangible connection to the past. The musty aroma swirls in the air. They share insights about the victims, emphasizing their humanity. Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes. The air grows heavy. Each had their own tragic story, but they were also products of their time. Understanding their lives adds depth to the investigation, one researcher explains, their voice barely above a whisper. There is a pause. The team shares findings. Annie Chapman was known for her resilience despite her hardships. Elizabeth Stride was seen leaving a nearby pub just hours before her death. The facts flow, connecting lives and timelines, revealing societal struggles that shaped their existence. Each detail adds another layer to the complex narrative of Whitechapel in 1888. Faint murmurs. The atmosphere is charged with anticipation as they discuss the implications of their findings. Imagine if we could connect this evidence to someone like Aaron Kosminski, one researcher posits. Kosminski, a moment of silence follows, lived right in Whitechapel during the time of the murders. Their eyes light up with the thrill of potential breakthroughs. The dim light from the overhead fixtures casts shadows on their focused faces. There is a pause. Another researcher interjects. But we must rely on facts, not speculation. We have to assess every piece of evidence on its own merit. The tension builds as they reflect on the historical context. They understand that the spectre of the killer still looms over the community. The weight of unresolved questions fills the room, mingling with the dust motes that dance in the light. Distant footsteps. As research continues, media interest grows. Journalists and historians flock to the centre, eager for updates. An air of excitement buzzes in the halls as the public yearns for answers. The walls are adorned with posters and reports that remind everyone of the mystery that still lingers. Help us catch the Whitechapel murderer, they plead, echoing sentiments from over a century ago. Outside, people gather, sharing stories of the past. Each tale is laden with fear and intrigue. Chatter outside. Back inside, a phone call interrupts the analysis. A breakthrough in the investigation has been made, revealing new insights into the victims' lives based on comparative analysis of historical data and modern forensic techniques. The lead historian rushes to the phone, her heart racing. As she takes notes, the atmosphere shifts. With every word, hope rises. The sound of the ringing phone cuts through the quiet, a sharp reminder of the urgency of their work. Phone ringer time seems to stand still. Analysis shows new insights into the victims' lives, she announces after hanging up. The room erupts in excitement, yet a hush falls as they realise the gravity of the moment. The air is electric with possibility. There is a pause. Potentially, we could identify links that reshape our understanding of the killer, someone whispers, wide-eyed. The weight of this potential discovery settles over them, a mixture of excitement and caution. They remind themselves to remain grounded in factual evidence and historical context. Papers shuffling. Hours pass as they meticulously prepare to validate their findings. Papers shuffle, pens scratch against notepads. The sounds of focused energy fill the room. Drowny, time seems to stand still or whirled. The clock ticks steadily, each second marking their progress. Outside, the city remains unaware of their efforts. The streets of London are shrouded in a cold winter night, the gas lamps flickering in the distance. There is a pause. As evening approaches, they review the original case files again. Old photographs of the victims are laid out on the table, faces staring back at them. The stark reality of their fates reminds the team of their mission. Catherine Eddowes was found in Mitre Square, brutally murdered. Her case underscores the violence that plagued the area, one researcher recalls. Time seems to stand still, haste in their voice. Deep breath. A colleague nods in agreement, and Mary Jane Kelly's murder was even more gruesome. These women deserve justice. Their voices echo in the stillness, a solemn reminder of the importance of their work. There is a pause. As the sun sets, the centre's lights illuminate their efforts. Shadows dance along the walls, mirroring the uncertainty that still lingers. The team shares their plans to collaborate with law enforcement. They aim to present their findings and possibly reopen the investigation. A moment of silence follows. Clock ticking grows louder, matching the pulse of their urgency. Clock ticking. Will justice ever be served? One scientist wonders aloud, echoing a question that's persisted for generations. The uncertainty hangs in the air, thick as fog. There is a pause. They continue to work late into the night, driven by a sense of purpose. The weight of history sits heavily on their shoulders, but they press on. Each step forward feels like a tribute to the lives lost. The flickering lights cast long shadows, reminding them of the darkness that still surrounds the case. Lights flickering. As the night deepens, the atmosphere remains charged with hope. They prepare for the next phase of their investigation, ready to face whatever obstacles lie ahead. With each new piece of evidence, the past inches closer to resolution, papers rustling. As they pack up for the evening, a renewed sense of determination fills the room. The questions remain, but so do the possibilities. The past isn't fully buried, it's waiting to be uncovered. Next, the air grows heavy. Shift to how these findings could reshape the narrative around these infamous murders. What might they reveal about the killer still lurking in the shadows? The team knows they're on the brink of something significant, and the journey is far from over. There is a pause. 2023, January 15th. Various. The mystery of Jack the Ripper continues to captivate audiences. Decades have passed since the gruesome murders in Whitechapel, yet fascination remains. Documentaries, books, and films delve into this chilling narrative. Night after night, television screens flicker with images of fog-laden streets and dark alleyways. Jack the Ripper has become a cultural icon, a figure of intrigue and fear. Each year, on the anniversary of the first murder, crowds gather in the East End. They walk the same streets where terror once reigned. Footsteps. Their steps echo on cobblestones, a reminder of the past. The air thickens with anticipation as guides recount the victims' stories. Smartphone screens illuminate eager faces, hungry for every detail. As the sun sets, gas lamps flicker to life, casting long shadows along narrow alleyways. Gas lamp flicker. The atmosphere shifts from curiosity to unease. The tales of the victims, Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary, a moment of silence follows, hurried. Each woman's life, marked by hardship, becomes a focal point for reflection and sorrow. Mary Ann Nichols, 39, when found on August 31st, 1888, was a mother of 5. Her tragic end resonates with those seeking to understand the human cost of violence. There is a pause. The cold air carries a whisper of her name, urging the crowd to remember her not just as a victim, but as a woman with dreams and hopes. Annie Chapman, 37, known in her neighbourhood, suffered greatly. Her worn clothes and troubled face tell a story of survival. Last seen alive on September 8th, 1888, she was discovered just hours later at 29 Hanbury Street. Silence. The details of her murder have become infamous, a puzzle that continues to baffle investigators. The guides pause dramatically, allowing the weight of her story to settle over the crowd. Elizabeth Stride, 35, is often remembered for her untimely death on September 30th, 1888, in Dutfield's Yard. Distant pub sounds. Found with her throat cut, her body remains largely intact, a stark contrast to the brutality of the crimes that followed. The last sight of her was from a nearby pub, a reminder of the ordinary life she pursued before tragedy struck. The audience shivers, imagining her final moments as laughter fades into silence. Catherine Eddowes, aged 46, known to many in the area, often roamed the streets, seeking warmth and food. Her brutal murder, also on September 30th, 1888, in Mitre Square, shocked the community. Distant church bells. The darkness of that night is punctuated by memories of her last moments, as if the stones of the square hold her cry. The guides' voices soften, inviting listeners to reflect on the fragility of life. And finally, Mary Jane Kelly, only 25. Her murder on November 9th, 1888, displayed extreme mutilation, leaving her face almost unrecognisable. Heavy silence. The lack of defensive wounds raises unsettling questions about what transpired in Miller's Court that night. The stillness of the room echoes with unanswered queries, leaving the crowd with a sense of dread. Interest in the case has not waned. The chilling letter signed Jack the Ripper continues to haunt those studying the case. Rustling paper. The crude yet theatrical language draws readers into a dark narrative. Dark ink on yellowing pages tells of the killer's boastfulness, a taunt to police and the terrified public. Guides share snippets from the letter, each word dripping with menace. This enduring mystery fuels a cultural obsession. Documentaries provide a visual journey into the past, while books dissect every detail. Fictional portrayals blend reality and imagination, creating a complex web of intrigue. Films dramatize the tension, keeping viewers on edge. Theatre audience gasping as night falls, laughter and gasps fill theatres, yet the weight of horror in the air grows heavy. Every one of the real lives behind the stories. In 2023, articles flood online platforms, igniting discussions among armchair detectives. Social media buzzes with speculation. Each new theory adds another layer to the story, yet the core mystery remains unanswered. There is a pause. Who is the killer? What drives someone to commit such atrocities? These questions resonate through generations, refusing to fade. The community buzzes with chatter, debating the latest findings and theories. Witnesses from the time have long passed, yet their stories carry on. The chilling accounts of those who heard strange noises linger in the air. Distant whispers, memories of the man seen with stride haunt the corners of the mind, a spectre of the unsolved past. Guides emphasize the importance of these eyewitness accounts, each one a thread in the intricate tapestry of the investigation. The police investigation faced challenges, including a lack of forensic science that complicated efforts to find the killer. Clock-ticking officers combed through the streets, tension thickening with each passing day without answers. Crowds gathered outside police stations, their demands echoing through the night, a chorus of fear and frustration. Guides mimic the urgency, their voices rising as a moment of silence follows. Mounting anxiety of the citizens. Community meetings became a staple during this time. Residents exchanged nervous glances, sharing fears. Vigilante groups emerged, patrolling dark streets. The uncertainty, amplified by media frenzy, left the East End gripped in fear. There is a pause. The guides allow the weight of this reality to settle in, reminding everyone that fear can drive people to desperate actions. As interest in the case perpetuates, the legacy of Jack the Ripper remains a haunting reminder of violence. The spectre of the killer continues to loom over Whitechapel. People seek closure in theories and evidence, yet the truth remains elusive. Deep breath. The crowd is left with unresolved tension, a reminder that some mysteries may never be solved. The mystery of Jack the Ripper has become more than just a series of murders. It is an enduring cultural phenomenon. Each passing year, the story evolves, drawing in new generations. The narrative shifts as new discoveries emerge and old theories are re-examined. Soft murmurs. The guides conclude with a sense of finality, yet questions linger. As the scene shifts out of the dark alleys of Whitechapel, one question remains. What new leads will emerge in the investigation? The public is hungry for answers, ready to engage with the mysteries of the past. The stories of the victims shine bright, their lives a testament to resilience. As the world continues to turn, the haunting echoes of history invite further exploration, keeping the intrigue alive. Up next, the investigation intensifies as police pursue new leads and face their greatest challenge yet. Who will confront the shadows lurking in the past? The tale is far from over. 2023, January 20th. Various. The echoes of the past linger as discussions surrounding the Ripper case fill the air.